Hello, welcome to AOK Games here with another hopeful rapid review. Even though this is a long-range airliner, yes, you are indeed looking at the MD-11. That is the McDonnell Douglas 11. And although some of my longer haul aircraft have been longer videos, I'm going to try to leave this to just the juicy tidbits, the price, the texture details, the systems, and I'll conduct most of the flight here from San Francisco, as I mentioned I would do the other day on my community page section there, where I'm going to go from San Francisco International to Honolulu. Now, this aircraft in the passenger variant is essentially capable of 6,700 plus nautical miles with these GE variant engines. I know they're offering at some point a different engine option, so that's just something to keep in mind. The price here is $69.99 USD, and that's for either the cargo or the passenger variant. Now, the cargo has a little bit less range statistically with the specs that I could find on this aircraft, and whichever one you purchase, just know that you can actually still purchase the second variant for $9.99 additional, as well as I know they're actually going to be adding system failures and things like that in the future as an upgrade, so that's also something to keep in mind. This aircraft is, of course, an older wide body, right? So we have the house liveries here by the software developer, which I thought was appropriate because it's very, very well done, of course, and it shows the age and the patina of this MD-11. Now, in the real world, there was approximately 200 MD-11s built, and about 2/3 of them were passenger variants, and 1/3 was actually the cargo variant. So there's not a lot of these that were ever made, primarily because they did not meet the fuel efficiency quotes that I believe they were supposed to meet in terms of range and fuel burn, so they kind of fell a little short on that, but they were still, I guess, arguably a very, very successful aircraft. It's a unique design. You don't really see, other than like maybe a 727, right? I can't think of anything offhand, at least, that has the second of the third engine, three engines rather, mounted on the tail, horizontal, a vertical stabilizer there. So that's really cool. I like it. The texturing here, I have to say, I feel like I say everything on the channel is good, but to be honest with you, I only bring you guys quality stuff. I want you to see the finest of the fine, and that is what I am looking at here. With what I'm seeing here in terms of the quality of the texturing, I'm not sure I've actually ever seen a higher quality textured aircraft model, to be fairly honest with you, and I am talking about you can put this against the likes of any other DLC. Now, yes, it is $70 off sale, so that is quite a penny. It's on its way to being a study level aircraft, with the systems that are coming in an upgrade package for failures and stuff. I don't know if that constitutes it being a study level aircraft yet or not, but I will tell you the systems and the base and core experience here is 100% there and available to you for sure. I mean, one only has to look at these brakes down here to see just that level of enormous detail. Sorry, that the lines that disappeared there is because I was starting to clip through the aircraft, so that is not an aircraft fault. Yeah, center tri-landing gear for the mains. That's really cool to see. But the systems essentially are all there, and you can tell just by these house colors that the geometry here and the modeling is it's really nice. I don't want to be quoted as saying second to none, but it is absolutely right up there with the best of them for sure. And I think on an older aircraft like this, that's what you want to see, right? It wouldn't make sense if this were brand new factory fresh paint and did not look like it had time on it. I mean, even when you come into the engines here and you see these high bypass fan blades, I mean, look at the state of the blades on the bottom, right? Like, it's really neat to see that. And even when you start looking towards like the wing root and stuff, you can see all of the weathering and all of the dirt and stains and stuff. It's really it's high quality for sure. So yes, it's worth in my opinion $70, of course, with or without the failures. but just know that they are coming. So that being said, now that I've perused the outside with you, so let's go ahead and hop on into the pilot and command seat, and I'll show you the EFB for starters, and then everything else. But before I do that, let's go ahead and sneak on down here and look at the main landing gear, as a matter of fact, and check out the tires. I even like the rubber simulation here in terms of the way that the textures look. They're not overly shiny. You know, they look like they have some use on them. The main strut there and the scissor link. It's all really, really high detail for sure. No jagged angles, nothing that looks too out of place. It really is a well done visual model. Okay, so let's hop on inside. Thanks for joining me today. Okay, welcome to the pilot and command here. So right off of the bat, you can see the patina and you can see the quality of the texturing resolution here. Now keep in mind, I am uploading at a lower than maximal bitrate for the sake of saving my hard drive space. However, what you are seeing is probably 2/3 of the quality and resolutions that I am seeing. So keep in mind, what you're looking at, it's even better than that. So one of the nice things about this is the EFB. You can kind of plug this in here, and let's just go ahead and pop on down and look at some of the options and things you can do. Of course, you've got your sim brief, right, fully integrated. All of the corresponding information, right, the general, there's systems here that you can set up. There's crew alerting warning systems, all kinds of call outs, things that would help you fly the plane. You've got your CG control, your takeoff D rates, your climb D rates, everything to cater towards how you'd like to fly your version of this aircraft. You can simply do the dispatch for your sim brief import, which I will be doing on our next phase of the review. However, there is automatic loading of all of this with this EFB integration. So we'll disregard these numbers for now, but just know that they will be populated. And performance data, right? It's as simple as this. You tell it where, you didn't even have to tell it where to go. Once you import your sim brief plan from dispatch, the performance numbers are already mostly there for you. And of course your charts. Navigraph, if you have one, fantastic way to operate this bird. Services, all of your doors function, right? We might as well open everything up and go on outside and take a look at that. We've got the GPU and the air supply unit plus wheel chucks. We're not going to throw the far right on because I'm going to start this up from a cold and dark state so that you can see what that is. And loading, right? It's already in cold and dark, but let's go outside and we'll see the doors real quick. So again, it's all available, right? There are no air stairways. I don't know if you have like an add-on like GSX, sorry about that on the top there, clipping through the building. But if you have GSX, I don't know. It's possible that you could connect airways, jetways. I'm not sure. I am, again, at San Francisco in a cargo large spot here, so we're not like really too worried about that. It doesn't make or break the simulations, but just know that all of these doors do indeed open and function. So let's go ahead and we'll close all of those, and then essentially I'll move to the next phase of flight and attempt to show you as much of the systems integration here as I can. Obviously, all of these systems here that you're seeing function for sure. All of those here function for sure. And it's a good thing because I can program this in, you know, this computer, this flight control computer here for you to see all of the function. It's all there and it's very seamless. So although this aircraft, you'll notice when we go up here through the procedures, you'll notice a lot of these systems are automated. You can manually override each one of the systems if you like a more hands-on, or in the event of an emergency down the line, you can definitely control each one of these systems. And I'll show you that like more on a singular basis when we actually power the aircraft up. So that's what it offers. I actually, as a matter of fact, have not gone and seen the back. So this will be a first. Let's just go ahead and peruse on back here. Door obviously functions, and we can get in and see all of the wide body features that this aircraft has. I will say, as a first time, looking at the seat quality and textures and the overhead bins and all the writing there, 5, 6, 4, 3, all of the rows, they all look really, really nice. The storables area here where you store all your sodas and your snacks and things, very high detail with that, of course. Now, funny, this aircraft, I have not flown in real life on an MD-11, but I have, when I was a youngster, flown on a Lockheed L-1011, which essentially is the Lockheed variant of this. And it was a really, really large aircraft. And you can see that by having the 242 seating configuration, that there's a lot of room in this aircraft, right? This is like jumbo jet territory in terms of like width, right? I mean, maybe not totally, but it's edging right there. And with the 6,700 nautical mile range, this aircraft is certainly capable of some long flights. And you're going 6,700 nautical miles, this is the seat you want right here. Unlimited leg room. So detailing textures up here, really, really nice. So let's go ahead, hop back into the front of the aircraft there, pilot in command position, and then we'll work on the startup procedure. Okay, so we're back at it again. Now, what's nice about this aircraft is it's kind of like the dawn of the technology era, right? Like you've got all the automation, but you also have a nice blend of pressable buttons here, right? It's not all just screens that are LCD and automated mouse control, this, that, and the other thing. But it's kind of a blend of both worlds. So we'll turn the battery on as we always do, right? And we'll turn our emergency power to arm, and then we're going to, let's just come on down here real quick and turn our emergency lights on, at least to armed, rather. And then we'll look back up in the overhead here. And a lot of these, like I said, they're all testable. Everything's testable. So that's a really, really nice thing. We'll press the start and the stop. We'll let the APU come on, and then we'll go ahead and we'll swap over to align our IRSs. What's nice is they even have, obviously, the quick align, the instant, and then the real length. I don't know how long the real length of this aircraft is, but I would rather not waste our time, so I've got mine to quick align. That way we can pretty much get everything the way it needs to be. The other nice thing about this aircraft is it does indeed have all of the cabin pressurization to automatic, which is really nice because something a little older than this may force you to actually do that, which is not a terrible thing, but just be aware that it does have a lot of availability to it. So that is on. What I wanted to show you was, okay, we'll go to the pneumatics here. You can actually go into manual mode, and you can turn on all of these things in manual mode by yourself, right? Or if you want the aircraft to handle it, you can do that as well. So it will handle pneumatics and everything that you would want to control. The lighting on this aircraft is extraordinary. If you need, as we are in the daytime here, if you need a better example, check my community post on this not too long ago, and you'll see the evening lights that I have lit up here. And they're extraordinary. So all of the lighting here is really, really nice. So that being said, let's go ahead and hop back on down here, and we'll go to the EFB real quick, and then I'll import my flight plan. And then a lot of this, like I said, you can already program into it. So I'm going to head down here, and then we'll look at all these pages, or at least most of them, right? Maintenance and everything, self-tests, and, systems will be added to this aircraft. I'm being told. So that's a really, really cool thing to see. The flight plan, all of it. It's all here. NavRad, we're still in like self-test mode, so because we just turned this on, we're just waiting for things to align. You've got all kinds of menus here, which would be a perfect time for me to scroll back and show you. Let me show you some of the screens you can get on these displays here. Naturally, there's the engine and hydraulics, right? Electrical, you've got pneumatics, you've got fuel, flow, configuration, brake, pressures and temperatures. You've got a status page for what's going on with the aircraft, and you've got consequences, which I've never actually even seen that before. So there you go, consequences, things not being armed, battery is discharging, so on and so forth. Really, really nice to see that. So that's just something to show you. Let's see if we can get that to go away. I believe, essentially, that this aircraft is all good when it comes to the system functions. It's really, really in depth, and the status of this is incredible in how detailed this is. So when they do add the package for failures, this aircraft is going to have the ability to do anything that any of the other aircraft have. So let me go ahead and get everything loaded up, and then I'll rerun with you how it all went and what I did to get there in an effort to save time before departure. See you in just a brief second. Okay, and just like that, we've got a little bit more information added. So obviously our IRSs are aligned. We have gone ahead and typed in the flight plan. Essentially, it was the import, right, from SimBrief, and to describe that, I've gone ahead and typed in the takeoff and approach. We're going to be leaving from 01 left and approaching 4 right when we get to Hawaii. So obviously a lot of that's not going to be in the video because it'll just be about the main functions of this review in this plane. Everything works fine. The only thing you need to make sure, of course, is that you always have enough fuel. So I've recalculated and done it, you know, multiple times just to make sure, and I've updated everything. We've got all of our V1s, VRs, and V2 speeds with our flex temp and our flaps. Obviously, at 25 for the dial flap there. One thing you have to make sure is that you always have enough fuel, right? Or else the FMC gets upset. So we've got 108,500 pounds of fuel. So I have always made sure in this aircraft that I made the fuel available to the FMC before actually typing in all of our information there. And it only loads with 15,000 pounds at my current state of the simulator. So we've essentially filled up the gasoline before typing in all of the information into our flight plan here. But that being said, it was just pretty much plug and play. If you just follow it the way that it's meant to be followed, and you type in all of your performance numbers and type in and press all of the corresponding keys, the weights and the balances and everything in there essentially will fill in by itself, right? All of these numbers here functioned perfectly fine, and they've given us all of our trim and CGs and everything. You just have to make sure, as an advisory, that you have more than enough fuel in the tanks to do it for the weight and fuel required to do the route. So, okay, that being said, let's get back to piloting command and let's work on this pushback here, and then we'll get started and take off out of here for the further review. That's the ascent to 38,000, and this aircraft has a very neat feature called auto flight, so you can set it and forget it. We'll try that out as well. Okay, so we've hid the EFB there. I'll bring it up in just a second for the Navigraph chart. But let's test the start out here. So before we start moving, the first thing we always want to do is turn our transponder on to transmit and receive. That's all good. And let's make sure that our engine page is up. Let's turn on our rotational beacons, let people know in terms of dangerous for starting, right? We've got that. We've got our taxi, and we'll turn our landing lights on just before takeoff. Everything here is in automated mode, so let's go ahead and get these engines running. To do that, I'm going to use the A ignition here, and then we'll come down and I'll try to make sure you can hear these sounds as best as possible. Let's go ahead and pull the number 2 starter. That'd be the engine above the wing, or above the horizontal stabilizer. Okay, we've got engine oil pressure coming up. Let's throw on the go juice. And we'll look ahead here. Sounds really nice. It's coming alive. We've got all good stats here. Engine oil pressure in the green. Temperature is fine. EGT is fine. And it is alive. Okay, let's go ahead and repeat that procedure. We'll do the number 3 engine. And I'll wait for 20 on the N2. Just get closer towards max rotation so that we don't introduce fuel too early. And our hydraulic pumps are functioning, as well as our generators, and our central air conditioning for Pack 2 is functioning. Okay, number 3 starter cut out. Let's go ahead with number 1. And waiting for N2 rise just a little bit. Let's go ahead and throw that fuel on. There's the light. back inside. So let's go ahead and taxi this. I'm using my TCA Airbus throttles today. So as you can see on the throttle quadrant there, I have individual command of all 3 throttles. So we'll be using that for our takeoff. Everything appears to be ready to go. So let's go ahead and get the first power up here. Let's turn the park and brake off. And let's go ahead and set our flaps to that dial-a-flap setting. Let's go ahead and stow our spoilers, make sure they're not going to mess with our takeoff, and let's set our auto brake for takeoff. That being said, we have to make sure that we trim our aircraft for takeoff right there on the co-pilot's most left display. We need to be within the green CG, so we'll get that ready to go at 23. Everything seems to be running well here, and let's go ahead and just take a look at some of our systems here. While we're doing that, we're right about at 10 there in the green, middle. Everything's good. Electrical's fantastic. We are generating, and fuel status, no problems, no miscellaneous, none of that. Okay, so we will keep our engine page up. As a matter of fact, how about we just go, let's just go to the air, because I'll have to turn off the APU now, since we have 3 good running engines, and that'll be good, because we do not want the APU while we are flying. So, I believe, maybe, let's see. We've got 3 good engines. I think everything is actually good with the APU. Let's see. Yes, unselectable anyways. So, here we go. Cool. So when I talk about an older aircraft, what I'm telling you is that it even turned off the APU by itself. So I have inadvertently started it back up. That's okay. We will turn that off just before takeoff. Let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to bring just the middle throttle up and taxi out with only 1 engine, essentially, to save a little bit of fuel. More than enough thrust for ground operations. And we are going to 1 left. That being said, let's go ahead and check our brakes. Left and right. Everything appears to be clear here in San Francisco. We'll clear up that APU message there, and we'll make sure that our flaps are, in fact, where they need to be. Dial-a-flap 25. And experiencing the taxi, you can feel the weight here on this aircraft for sure. It rolls, but it definitely has the sensation of weight. Really nice nose wheel turning animation in terms of it not sliding. I've been in heavier aircraft and lighter aircraft that have wheels that seemingly more skid as opposed to feel connected to the ground. This aircraft does indeed feel connected to the surface, which is nice to see. So let's go ahead and turn that APU off since I made that boo-boo. But that's just the thing. The aircraft is older, but it's got these mechanical switches and knobs and all types of things that make it kind of feel older, but it still runs at a very autonomous rate, which is really, really cool for a wide-body aircraft that has this type of range to it, 6,700 plus nautical miles. So the fact that a lot of these things work, most of these buttons, I can't open the window, but most of these buttons are, in fact, you know, pressable and usable. There's nothing that you see here other than, at this point, the circuit breakers that I can't push. But like I said, in the future, they're planning on packages that will essentially add failures. So I mean, that's, you know, it is what it is. Not much more could be said about such high fidelity. So let me get down to one left, and then we'll do this Gap 7 departure out of San Fran direct to Bebop. I'll do some of the auto flight features, and then obviously I'll hit just back at flight level. We'll cruise, get you some external shots and sounds, and then I'll bring us back at the approach. Thanks for watching. Okay, so we are just about at one left. Let's go ahead and pull up the Gap 7 departure just for reference. We're pretty much, according to our FMS, just going to make a left-hand turn out of here and then straight out to Bebop. We've got our V1s where they need to be. We'll make sure that we are set for takeoff. On our RTO switch there, we are set to take off. And let's turn our landing lights on here. All of them. We'll go ahead and select that we have 100 passengers up here. And we'll make that left. Okay. So, the next affair is essentially we've gone ahead and we've got all of our V speeds here. We've got our dial of flaps. Everything's set. Everything's the way that it needs to be. And before we actually advance the throttles for auto flight, we'll just make one more quick check there on the FMC. And then we'll get out of here. So we'll make sure we get numbers with PAX on for the FMC. Everything's good. All lights are off. APU is indeed off. Everything is ready to go. All right. Here we go. So let's advance the throttles to approximately 70%, and then I will hit the auto flight mode. Center button, brakes off. Now the aircraft has control of the throttles. No warnings. Seatbelts and smoking signs are illuminated. And we'll have to lock our cabin door. Obviously air speeds are alive, cross-checked. Using quite a bit of runway, as we have over 108,000 pounds of fuel. And that's a quick rotate, but we are up. Positive rate, gear up, and let's make that left-hand turn. Flying towards the flight directors there, the magentas. Still manually flying. And you'll notice on our center screen there, that green arc is our turning radius and where we will essentially be flying if we follow that present course. And let's go ahead and turn on the autopilot a little bit here once we straighten out. Bring the flaps up. And nose wheel lights off. pitching to hopefully maintain 250 knots. And the plane is working towards intercepting the magenta. We are 129.5 nautical miles from Bebop, and we are on our way to cruising altitude further on to Honolulu. Let's get some outside sounds and sights. Okay, aircraft maintaining the 250 knot flight speed and climbing right on the flight path in accordance with our FMC. Bebop at 38.5, top of climb 400. So we've got a while to go, obviously. This is California. That was San Francisco International. And we are going to cross the great expanse out there. I will do that in real time. That way we get the idea for the stability on this product, and that'll give you the idea, and me the idea when we land in Honolulu, what it's like to land the heavy wide body MD-11 by TFDi. Approaching 10,000 feet, retract the landing lights. Let's come down and put our doors to auto, and not that we have any, but we can switch our radar on here. We'll do that, and then we can throw on our traffic, and everything looks good. Traffic and data. Nothing in the area. That's good. Next step standard QNH at 18,000 feet. I'll see you guys in the cruise. Okay, so welcome back after hopefully what you enjoyed as seeing the external, well, the internals of the external wings, right from the passenger seat view there. Just wanted to showcase a little bit of the cabin while we were climbing to altitude, and speaking of which, we are at flight level 400. Now, our manifest obviously calls for 100 passengers as per our sim brief loadout, so this aircraft is capable of carrying a whole bunch more than that, I think closer to 300 people. So we're quite light. It was really quick for a time to climb to 40,000 feet. We are actually at Mach 0.81 approximately, so we have a narrowed down flight envelope there. We are staying within the ambers, and the auto flight system has been flawless, quite literally. I know that the aircraft is quite a pretty penny, but believe me, all of the fidelity here is second to none. This aircraft absolutely draws a stunning amount of attention, and please understand what you are seeing, as I've said previously, is probably about half the quality and textures due to the bitrate compression of YouTube and everything. So I assure you, everything you're seeing here is almost, I would say, photorealistic for the money, for sure. You think about, you can have a passenger version as this one is, or you can have the cargo version and all the different liveries that are, you know, on the main website and through flightsim.to. And what you've got here is a really well accomplished, complete product for sure. I have not had a single issue with it, so long as you fly by the book. And speaking about flying this aircraft, we'll look at the overhead panel again. And essentially, I I do believe that this is the quintessential perfect blend of a wide-body long-haul aircraft. It's not as modern as a 787, obviously, as it was, you know, going through production from the 80s to the year 2000, but it's got these mechanical switches, right? They have a very tactile sound and a very nice, I should say, the sound is important in a price point like this, and everything here sounds excellent. And although it has the mechanical buttons and the rotate knobs and the pushes and the flippies and all of that, you know, you still got your screens here, right? You've still got a modern FMC that can handle all types of flight envelopes, ILS, and everything else, right? So pretty much what you're looking at is a long-haul aircraft that's essentially quote-unquote study level at a competitive price. And again, what you're seeing because of YouTube, you know, upload compression for bitrate and what I record at, this probably for you looks at about half of the quality that I'm seeing at in 4K. So these textures, you know, when you look at this seat, I mean, it's photorealistic, right? There's a lot of work that has gone into this thing to portray the texture patina and everything else and all of the correct scales. So yeah, that's where I stand on that. However, we have a long way till we get to Honolulu, and I don't want to bore you with that. So I think the perfect thing for us to do is to just maybe get some outside shots now that we're at cruise level and pan around the camera, and then once we're well on our way to the descent and approach into the star/arrival for the four-right approach into Honolulu International, that's when I'll bring you back. So see us in a quick jiff after these cinematics. Okay, so here we are on short final. What I would like to do is go ahead and remove the autopilot and the auto flight. That way we can just get the hands-on feel for this. There we go. We'll tone that down a bit. I've gone ahead and thrown on a little bit of floodlights, of course, for us to see the instruments a little bit better, and we're carrying just about the right amount of inertia here, but I'm also going to state, of course, that we're a little high. That's okay. It's better to have more height and speed than be too low and too slow. And we have our automated callouts by the FMS. That's always cool.
Sync rate. Sync rate. Minimum. Sync rate.
And nice to see the automatic systems letting us know. Now we'll chop the throttles. There's touchdown. We'll roll on some reverse. And pull the flaps and pull the screen brakes all the way to extend. And that's it for the reverse thrusters. Just go ahead and remove remove the auto brake. Should be off. Right about now. So we'll hit the next taxiway and I'll finish up the review. Of course, we're crossing over an active runway, but that'll be perfect. Of course, it's complaining because it knows that I'm putting in a lot of throttle and we're out of trim for takeoff, but this is not a failed landing attempt, so hopefully now it'll stop saying that because we are back in the green at 7. And plenty with medium braking. So that was the whole flight, and while we taxi, and I'll go ahead and give my final review. Turn the landing lights off and put the nose wheel taxi light on as we look to steer to the left here, of course. Clear left. So what do I think? I think off sale on a new release, of course, $70 is a lot of money, but I also think there's an extreme amount of aircraft here too. The fact that this is going to be a continually developed thing, even though it feels quite completed in its state right now as of the time this video just came out a couple days ago. Even if nothing else were touched on this and they weren't to add any more, you know, failures packages or anything to the aircraft, this, for the price, I think rivals any long-haul aircraft in the game for sure. As I've mentioned before, it has all the bells and whistles. It has the ILS. It has the ability to run in manual mode if you want to flop the buttons all around and switch switches and not turn knobs. It's all there, but it can also do it in an automated fashion. It's got 3 engines and they're all configured in a really neat way. This is the passenger variant, obviously, with the longer range, and it has the GE engines, so that's always nice. There is definitely, I think, coming to be another variant with different engines. And if you don't want the passenger variant like this is, you can get the freighter variant. So, different engines for both, you know, configurations on the airframe. There's a lot going on here. And it's probably, I would say, one of the funner aircraft that's long haul I've flown. It's right up there with the likes of the best. And it's very accurate. It's very accurate. All of the calculations, all of the things that make a study level aircraft great, this aircraft has, for sure. So, that being said, we are here in Honolulu at the stand, and I'll just finish this review up by essentially shutting down the aircraft real quick, right? We know we have to start up the APU now, and once that starts, of course, we will turn on some bleed air for the air conditioners, we open the doors, we do all kinds of things like that, right? So rather than having that start up, because you know this is a one-man operation here, do not have a co-pilot or a flight officer back here that can help me press buttons. That will take just a second, so we'll just remove the right and left engines, turn them off. We'll leave the high engine running so that it does not essentially blow anybody around in a tug or luggage equipment or anything like that, right? We don't need the navs, we don't need the beacon, anything like that. We're essentially getting ready to turn the aircraft off. We'll leave the taxi on for now, but it is on and it is available, right? So that's always good to see. APU air, meaning we can turn off our last engine. So, to get one last look at the back portion of the aircraft here from the flight deck, you can see it is quite an amazing looking bird, and it functions just as well. I hope you enjoyed this content, and I hope that this review serves to shows some really interesting stuff about a almost legacy aircraft at this point, right? It's older, but that's where all the charm comes from. So, until the next video, thanks for joining here on AOK Games. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.